Coming to you from Studio HQ, we got another episode of Think Indie Podcast. If you're a returning listener or watcher, welcome back. If you're a first timer, welcome. As we're going to talk about all things independent comics, whether it be from how to create comics, Webtoon, which is another platform when you can read some really cool indie stuff. Also, what's coming out on Crowdfunder as well as Kickstarter, and also we've got our what if, sorry, not our what if, but what's up segment where we talk about, comic book past or just general commentary. I am Dodgy in the mixing it up with Paul Rabbit Gomez. What's happening, Rabbit?
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another great, fun-filled episode.
Yes, and our main man, Manny, is back. Welcome back, Manny.
Oh, man, I'm happy to be back.
Well, we're happy to have you back. But yeah, look, there's a few things we need to cover in today's episode. But before we jump into that, we got a few things to showcase to everybody. And Rabbit, do yourself a favor. What is coming out? Actually, tomorrow, speaking of all things, right?
That's right. Saturday on July 30th, we're putting out my fourth book. It's Bushibu Circus Mysteries, issue 2. And we have 6 exciting covers. We have 20 or 25 tiers that we're working through, which are going to be amazing. And also 3 48-hour tiers, which are going to be a great thing to get to. So help you save a little bit of money and have fun with.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a lot of fun. As you mentioned, amazing artists there, Lauren Gibson. Yeah, I'm just really happy for you. But anything else that you can share with us that's happening in the background in making this book?
Well, like I said, we are getting all 6 covers kind of finished. And that those 48-hour tiers are going to be like specials for those first 2 days. They're going to be really, really great. But also one of the main tiers is going to be a Kickstarter exclusive. That's going to be a combination of both issue 1 and 2. It's going to be actually 80 pages with about 63 story pages, a lot of sketch art, and then a few extra things thrown in.
Fantastic, man. Sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah, and then we're going to be talking about what's happening October 1st. Manny!
Buy Indie Comics Day!
Yes, exactly. Buy Indie Comics Day 2022. Calling on all comic book creators and comic book shops. If you are a creator like our panel here today, reach out to your local comic book store, make an event. It is Artist Alley in your LCS. Any new buzz going around, Manny?
Not really. I haven't heard that much, except from the place that the event that I'm organizing here in Norfolk, Virginia. But besides that, Canada, there's a comic shop in Canada that's doing something, but I haven't heard that much from anybody else. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, exactly. That's why maybe it's like a procrastinating event, whereas it's just like an avalanche happens
at the last minute.
September 29th.
Yeah.
Well, we hope so. But come on, guys. If you're listening, if you are a comic book creator, if you own a comic book shop, make something happen, because it's not every day that you're going to have the opportunity to get creators excited and actually want to be in your local comic book shop.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, independent comics, but still they bring people in your door. You know what I mean? Like,
no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, look, guys, October 1st, Buy New Comic Books Day. Make an event. Make it happen. All right. And then we're going to be going into the content of our show. And the first thing we always bring up when we talk comic books is the creative question. What do we do? How to make stuff? And this week's creative question is, what is the hardest part of making comics? I'd love to hear the essay being portrayed by our panel here today. But I'll start with you, Rabbit. What would be your hardest part of making comics?
Well, I think the 2 hardest parts are probably starting off with an idea that you think's actually going to sell, or attach with other people as well as yourself. It's kind of hard to have those ideas that you get in love with, but you're not sure are going to go across to other people. So you kind of got to figure out what idea that you're going to land on. And I know people have tons of ideas out there, and it's kind of hard to pick that one. But to me, the second and probably hardest thing is probably marketing and selling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And how about you, Manny? What would be your biggest challenge?
Man, my biggest challenge, honestly, would be time. The time it takes
Mm-hmm.
to make a comic book, and the time that I had to take from my family and pour it into a book. It's truly a labor of love because I mean it's not like we're piling on money because we make these books. It's just this is truly a labor of love, and but it takes a long time to make one book, much less like when you have a publisher and you're making a bunch of books and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a long process, long process.
Yeah. I think for me, the challenge that I have is, for example, right, you've got an image in your head and you're trying to bring that out, especially with an artist on board. And I mean, you might to attest to this, Rabbit, more than Manny, because Manny's an artist. So the
Yeah,
image that you have in your head that you think about, you can just put it on paper. But for
yeah,
Rabbit and I, it can be sometimes challenging because we have a vision what a character needs to look like. And when the artist draws it, we're hoping like two things: that they nail it, or they mess it up, or they do something completely different
yeah,
that we can actually take back and go, you know what, that might actually work, and I'll take that option because sometimes you have a vision in your head, but if it looks different to what you have, but in a good way, we might think, oh well, we'll take this, and that's happened to me a couple of times. How about you, Rabbit?
Yeah, I went through a few artists with my first book, and it was kind of daunting having to kind of explain what I was looking for. I did luckily find two great artists. The pencil and inker was one artist, and the color, which they did a great job, and it was even better than what I thought. So I mean,
Mhm.
it is hard to find that artist that kind of hears your interpretation, but I mean it's definitely one of those things that you got to kind of learn to fill out.
yeah,
Yeah, and definitely take it with a because the thing is, right, if you're not an artist, you can't always just bash the artist because they get it wrong, because they have a talent that you don't have, but at the same time, you got to get kind of what you want. But in a way, just be polite about it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And you guys agree with that? Like being polite, because you're not going to get networking if you're going to be known as being a rude bastard. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It,
Yeah.
it's a give and take thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
an open communication thing. I know with one of my artists, I worked on two books with him, and I'm working on a third book now, and having that communication for three books was so much amazing that I'm
Yeah.
being able to actually communicate more of how I see it as
Hmm.
opposed to that artist kind of interpretation at first.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No doubt. But definitely, yeah, I think just networking, communicating, and also just taking a step back and not just
Yeah.
be rude, I guess is the biggest takeaway when it comes to, collaborating and working together. All right.
yeah.
We'll move on now to our next topic, and that is Webtoon. And this Webtoon book kind of caught my attention because, again, when I check Webtoon, I'm really digging for the newer stuff rather than jump into a book that's got like 300 episodes. Because going back a bit might take, it might be a year behind, 2 years behind. Whereas people listening today may want to dive into something new. And today's book that I picked up is Night Under My Heart by Routine J with art by Han SungWoo. And it's basically, this is actually a really cool concept. Though it's about a young kid. There's someone who continuously skips school.
Hmm.
Lee finds himself trapped in a VR-based world, virtual reality for those who are not unsure of VR, and forget his grades. He's basically Yushin is selected and a better test in the game, so he's like kind of undergoing like testing and trying the game out, and he's finding himself fighting for his life. So I think he took a wrong turn here. This is supposed to be a light distraction from the stress at school, and now he's struggling for survival. I just want to hear what
Yeah,
you guys think about this because I think this is a really cool concept. He wears the VR and suddenly he finds himself in like Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons or any other swashbuckling game. Rabbit, what did you think of Night Under My Heart?
I liked it. I love the idea and the concept. At first, whenever I started reading it, I thought it was going to kind of be a, hey, I'm switching worlds, kind of enjoying myself kind of thing. And then after a while, it seemed like it turned to kind of a nightmare kind of thing. I mean, he didn't know what was going on and he was getting hurt and he was like, how do I get out of this? And then it seemed like, a back and forth with the controller. So I really enjoyed it. I like the way the twists and turns that it had in it.
Yeah, and the art, Manny. I mean, we're seeing some images here of the background and even the foreground. What do you think of the art in this book, Under My Heart, Night Under My Heart?
Man, I absolutely love the artwork on this book. I actually read the whole thing in one. Like I could not stop reading. I read it immediately. And I actually reached out to my colorist, and he's one of my best friends in the world. And I sent him the link, and I told him, you need to read this. And he actually said, oh, yeah, I'm reading that. So he's already reading it, yeah. Because I love everything about the artwork, the line work, the colors, everything is beautiful. And it's one of those books that I usually have a problem with web. Not a problem, but it's getting hard for me to adjust because of the format and how it is. But I actually read this title on my phone, and it read beautifully. I mean, the pages fit perfect on my cell phone. The lettering is big enough that I don't have to be struggling to read it. The coloring is clear. Yeah, I fell in love with it immediately. I immediately subscribed to it as it's next to Those Who Sleep. This is probably my favorite title from Webtoons right now.
You're absolutely right about the lettering because there's no reason to miss out. You actually can see everything because the balloons are kind of like, at times when you're swiping the screen, the balloons appear first and then the images later, and sometimes the other way around too. So I find it to be an easy read for that very purpose. And I mean, so go on.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was gonna say that when I was first starting to read it, it felt I kind of felt like, okay, this is sort of like the movie Ready Player One. But the one thing that I did like about this that it doesn't happen really in the Ready Player One is that in this story, the main character is completely flabbergasted when he goes into the AI world. He doesn't know what to do. So the other characters are screaming at him like, "You need to do something. You're the leader of this. What are you? We're getting killed here." And he's like, "What do I do?" So literally, he almost gets killed the first few pages of. I'm like, "What's going on?" So I kind of like that he doesn't immediately he's a master and he's beating everybody. That's usually what happens in stories like this. So I appreciated that, and I was like, okay, there's more to the story. And also, yes, it's AI, but there's something nefarious about the organization that's putting this operation together, and they're not quite telling you exactly what it is, but there's something fishy about it because there's another character, the female character that's also a player. She actually mentions something like, you having civilians do this right now, like this is supposed to be for military people or something like that. So there's some sort of nefarious thing going on. So yeah, I'm really curious, and I'm gonna be following this title for sure.
Has a bit of that Truman Show feel to it as well. I'm not sure if you guys seen that movie, whereas the whole world knows what's going on except for the main character. I kind of feel that. But yeah, I mean, I did read the first 3 chapters and I didn't see any cuss words. Were there any cuss words in the?
No.
Hey, there we go.
And they might have been a gesture, I have to reread it because I read it. So I read it last night, super late. But but there's not an actual curse word.
Yeah, I don't.
There might be some sound effect or something like that, but there's not not that I read. I don't know about something like that. Yeah. Nothing
Yeah,
like,
we gotta keep it like
because
that.
you know how I am. I immediately noticed that. So
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, me
so
too. Me too. But I didn't really pick it up unless I like
yeah,
skimmed through it. And
No,
yeah,
I think there was a point where she flipped him off, and the point that I read, but I don't remember a cuss word being said.
yeah,
yeah.
I did remember that. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hmm.
When they say that she's basically either you do it or you can just quit or something like that.
Yeah,
And she
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah,
yeah, it's funny. That's true.
that is so cool. Yeah, no, it actually is a fun book, and I mean,
Yeah,
like we're kind of seeing a similar trend when we're seeing people thrown into these different, like maybe switching bodies and things like that. But this one actually has like a feel like this would be a fantastic TV series or movie.
yeah,
If they could do something like this. Whereas, because you think about VR is being used a lot, and there are characters there which are Yushin faces, and he just instead of fighting, he just runs away. I mean, I would too.
yeah.
That guy
And
with the eye patch.
I like that when he goes to the AI world, it's not like they always do, like in a futuristic city or something like that. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
actually a medieval setting.
yeah,
Yes,
So
exactly.
that immediately caught my eye. Like, okay, so we're going in a different direction. It's usually
Mhm.
flying cars and all this stuff, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
appreciated that.
yeah.
definitely. I think really a good book for those who are fans of Magic the Gathering or any of the other.
Yeah,
I'm not an expert in the game field, but those role playing games that really focus on the medieval setting, like
yeah,
I would
yeah.
absolutely love this.
Oh, and I also love how do you say that, the armor and stuff like that. Oh man, I love.
The chainmail and yeah.
Yeah, it looks
I mean,
super cool.
we've seen an image here of like the enemy that he is or the other rival.
That's the main
Like
villain,
in
yeah.
the fight, yeah, that was freaking fantastic.
And
Yeah.
he's huge. You think
Yeah,
he's just a regular human, but he's actually like 10 feet tall or something like that.
yeah.
He's huge.
I love it. No,
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
cool.
cool. Yeah, but definitely not under my heart is the name doesn't really give a lot, but I think it's a really really good um a really good read. And I hope that one day, we will see this translated to like a series or something at least. That'll be fun.
That would be fun. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move into the crowdfunder now. And Manny, I just love and jumping back to you again, but what made you choose this Tales of the Black Devil book by Zachary E.M. Rohn?
Man, just by the look of it, that was the first thing that caught my eye. The
Yeah.
Demon Hunt. What's the name? Oh God, I forgot the name. What's it called? The Black Devil. That's what. Yeah, the
Black
Black
Devil.
Devil. Tales of the Black Devil, and I'm like, what the heck is this? So I saw that when you go to the crowdfunder, it had the video, and I thought immediately of Paul, and I was like, okay, let's see the video. And it's actually the creator dressed like some sort of vampire, or I don't know what he's dressed as. He's super crazy, and he's like a magician maybe, and he's explaining, and when that is like a little skit, but when he actually goes to his drawing table and he's actually talking more real, it,
Yeah.
he felt genuine. He felt like
Mm.
he has this world pretty, fleshed out. He's already had two comics done, and he
Mhm.
wants to expand it in different formats and stuff like that. And I was looking at the artwork, like we're seeing right now, is the artwork is
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful, man.
Mhm.
It looks like it could be, like you said earlier, like a role playing game, um, like an animated series. I don't know. It's like a mixture of both.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like action adventure, but it's also like magic, almost like Harry Potter or something like that. So it's something that I'm not usually fond of or a super fan of, but he
Mhm.
seems so genuine that it made me really root for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I love the video. I actually thought the video was very, very, very original. What did you think, Rabbit? I know you like watching the videos for any Kickstarter or crowdfunding project. What did you think of Zachariah's performance?
I thought it was definitely unique compared to most, and that's what I say. You know, whenever you're on a crowdfunder, you got to get out there and put yourself out a little bit different than most, and I think he did a great job of it.
Yeah.
And I love how he said it was written, lettered, and illustrated by yours truly, and he did this. I thought that was freaking fantastic. Even though he was set up like a vampire, like that was so fantastic.
And there's a point where he has a magic wand and he hits the cup, and some whiskey grows in the cup. And man, he's so funny, dude. He's a really funny dude.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because if you look at the images, there are a lot of stills, not a whole lot of action sequences in the illustrations, but I think the video really shined a bigger light, because I was just trying to find answers as to who the other creators are. I know he's only mentioned that he wants to pay his colorist, and that's initially the ambition for this project, and I think that's admirable.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? Like, yeah. But just want to move into this. A digital copy, $5 a pop. You know, Rabbit, what do you think? Good price?
I think it's decent medium price. I mean, I know a few people that charge a little bit less for digital, but $5 is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I think it's a little on the steep side.
Yeah, but I mean, you're out there, you know, helping a project. It's not exactly about, you know, just buying the digital. It really is about helping it. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I wouldn't mind paying $5 for a digital. Most of the time I buy a digital, I put in a few extra because I don't have to spend for shipping.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind $5.
Yeah, I think 5 is good, especially because they're not like, this is not a project that's already funded. This is funding the project. So I guess, you know, $5 isn't too bad in my opinion. Especially if it gives credit or payment to the colorist, I'm all for that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you think of the interiors?
Oh man, I really like it, man.
Yeah,
I really like it.
This image here of the I love the
yeah. Like I said, it feels a lot like Dungeons and Dragons, and it has that feel. And again, and almost like Harry Potter too, a little bit. It's magic, it's, you know, demons and stuff like that. It's cool, man. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think the images are absolutely amazing. But yeah, definitely want to check out. It is it is available at the moment. There is I think 22 days to go.
Yeah.
And in saying that, so it's 22 days to go, and today's show is actually recorded 29th of July. So yeah, by the time this show is on air, there will be a few days lapsed. All right, moving on to the book segment now, and today's book is Area 51, The Helix Project, #1. This is a book by I had the pleasure of interviewing Trevor Fernandez Linkevich, art by Marcelo Salazar, colors by Marcia Louise Ferrer, and letters by Taylor Espotino. Rabbit, what did you think of Area 51?
You know, the funny thing is, I'm not exactly that big of a sci-fi fan in comics, but we've been getting a lot of them, and I've been loving them. This is not an exception. I definitely enjoyed this comic, and it really was. I mean, laid out well, and the pace was well, and it didn't like throw you for a loop that you were so far gone. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Nice. And this is set in the 1970s, so it's like it has taken us back a little bit. So it's not set in present time, and I mean the writer is actually relatively young. So for him to go back that far in the past to actually write something like this, I think is admirable. Like, don't see a whole lot of like we see a lot of present time or future times, but not a whole lot of past times. Manny, what did you think of the art in this book?
Man, the art is great in this book. Very, very detailed.
Mm-hmm.
The color is amazing as well.
Yeah.
There's some pages where he's actually doing the heavy lifting, which
Mm-hmm.
I guess it evens it out because the line work is so detailed in most of the pages, but there's some
Mm-hmm.
pages where you actually see the colorist did pretty much the whole face, details on the clothes, and I'm like, damn, this color is, yeah, they're a good team. And actually, when I first saw it, Area 51, I'm a sci-fi fan
Mm-hmm.
since I was a kid. Not just Star
Yeah.
Wars, anything that has to do with Area 51 and stuff like that, I'm fascinated by it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first read the title, I was immediately thinking, okay, aliens, okay, cool. But it's so much more than that. Like he's going back and forth.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's this character that protects them in the beginning. Um
Mm-hmm.
and you don't quite know if he's a monster, if he's part of himself,
Mm-hmm.
because in the middle of the story where the main character received this letter and says, I know that your soul died that night or something like that. So now I'm thinking, what's going on? Was he part of him, or is he his dad? What, I don't understand. And also, there's a lot of social commentary of, the different social standards in society, like how people treat him, how he feels in comparison to other people that he's in contact with. So there's a lot in this story that that had nothing to do with what I was expecting, which was straight
Mm-hmm.
up spaceships flying and going to a military base or whatever. So it's a lot more in this story. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, nice. And Rebel, would you recommend this book to any sci-fi fan?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way it started out, it just gripped you because I felt like it was going to pull you into like a Superman story, and then it
Mm-hmm.
just had so many twists and turns, and it just really was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And you, Manny, would you recommend this to any sci-fi fan?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, and give a shout out to uh gosh, what's the name of it? Gosh, I cannot remember the publisher's name, but I will think of it at some point and shout them out. But it definitely will be in the show notes.
Right.
But to definitely check this out. Area 51, the Helix Project.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, we're going to be moving on now, and this will be actually part 4 of our Will Eisner focus on What's Up With. And this episode is What's Up with Dropsy Avenue, which is the trilogy, the ending of the trilogy of the A Contract with God saga. And this one was kind of deep because I did love Contract with God because it was mainly focused on like 3 different stories. The main story, A Contract with God, where we
Yeah.
had the gentleman who sold his soul because God let him down. Then we have a life force. A life force is basically like saga going on within Dropsy Avenue, kind of a little bit more like Sin City, where we had a whole context of crossovering stories, a bit of a bit of violence. So it was a little bit more gruesome than A Contract with God. And then we have Dropsy Avenue, whereas this was kind of unique because, and I'm really excited to hear your guys' input. It's like there was no main character in this book. I think Dropsy Avenue itself, that neighborhood was like the main character.
Yeah.
Um, there's a whole overarch of different people moving in and then moving out for various reasons. Growing there and dying there, or you know, like it was just a crazy, crazy story, but too much for me to explain. But it definitely was very interesting considering we're only getting maybe 5 pages per story, but I lost count of how many stories there are in this book. But Rabbit, overall, what was your opinion on Dropsy Avenue?
Well, just about anything Will Eisner does is very unique. I mean, with that first
Mhm.
one, A Contract to God, it had those full pages that you were reading this basic story. I mean, this huge story, that was pulling you in. And then this one, it felt like an anthology because you had so many stories within this one book, and it was like one right after the other, but it connected all with Dropsy Avenue. And even though you had one family after, one after the other, they all had different stories and different takes on society, and it was unique because it didn't really seem to focus on the art and the lettering as much as the other two did, and it was more of the stories of the individuals and where they were living and what's going on around them and everything in the world at the same time.
Yeah, and I felt there was covering a lot of racial barriers as well, like a German lady marrying an Irish background gentleman, and then we had the Dutch blending with the English, and there was a whole lot of in crimes as well. But Manny, what did you think of Dropsy Avenue?
Man, it's a lot to unpack. It's you know what's crazy? I've always known Will Eisner was a major talent. And literally, like I've always put him in the Mount Rushmore of artists, just from what I've seen. But when I actually sat down and realized I haven't really read that much that he's done, other than the Spirit. Other than the Spirit, when I read Contract with God, it completely blew my socks off. To the point where I'm like actively searching for that book. I need to own that book. But when I read this, I had no idea what I was going into, and I read like by page 80 or something like that. I kept trying to, like, my brain can't really process how freaking talented this guy was.
I know, right?
You don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is really a story that he knows from first account, or if it's a neighborhood that he lived in, or if it's something that he made up. Because if it's something that he made up,
that's insane.
It's freaking crazy. There's so many stories. So, like, the story is literally this neighborhood and how it grew and it evolved, all these generations after generations after generations, all the characters that he designed, all the conversations, the situations, racial struggles, oh my God, man, it's literally like mind bending. I mean, I was just reading and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, how much work did this guy put into this? I mean, there's a point where he puts he drew, like, he's actually drawn it, a map of what Dropsy Avenue used to be, and then how it grew into you see it's the same street, but it's changing a little bit. There's a few more pages and you see it change more, and you're like, man, how much, I mean, like I said, how much work did this man put into this book? It's just really, it's mind-numbing. Me and myself as an artist, it's almost like debilitating to a point where I'm like, Jesus, and you know, as artists, we shouldn't compare ourselves with other artists. We should just appreciate what they do, and then you do your own thing. But it's like a basketball player looking at Jordan. You want to try to reach that level, right? Or you see something like this, and you're like, Jesus, there's no reaching this level. This is something like I knew he was talented, but I did not know that he was. Honestly, I describe it in my writings, and I put God tier. Like, he's. I always have Kirby as the beyond end all. He's right there, man. I'm telling you, he's right there. Kirby was just more like, his imagination was out of this world, creating characters and stuff like that. But the amount of research that this guy did, the amount of just detail, and again, the artwork that you see whenever he drew this book, is, you look at the artwork right now, and it's right there. It's like the level of artwork, it was leaps and bounds above what anybody was doing at the time, to the point where right now very few artists can compare to that work. It was like he was literally above and beyond anybody else. It's just crazy. He was one of the masters of our craft, man. Everybody should read the story.
Yeah, you've nailed it on the head. It is truly out of this world. And there's a scene as well where he built the the gentleman who returned from the serving in the army, and he decided to build he didn't want to build a train station in Dropsy Avenue, but the mafia kind of pressured him a little bit.
Yeah.
And look what happened. And then you see the art, and I'm thinking, like, I've seen train stations looking like that in my neck of the woods. You know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely insane how he can draw like that. But I just want to give you guys some context, okay? So this book was published in 1995. A Contract with God was released in 1978. A Life Force in 1988. I just wonder why this book couldn't have waited 3 years and be released in 1998. Like, if you think about it, like that was like 10 years apart between books, but this one came a little bit early. But in saying this book came out in 1998. And I just, it truly blows my mind because this was like really in the heart of the, that comic book boom or doom as it may have happened. You know what I mean? Like, it was really within that peak. But I find that astonishing that this actually came out at that time, because it does feel aged, but only because of the stories, not because of the design or the art. What do you
because
think
it goes back in time.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
And it's crazy because there's like you're starting to read and you're thinking, okay, this is gonna be like a history story or whatever, and all of a sudden it gets dark. And I'm talking about, I mean, there's a page where a little girl dies, and oh my god, man! When I was reading that, I literally gasped, like physically, like I could not believe that. It was so like vivid the way he illustrated it, and then then the guy killed his brother-in-law, and his wife was right there. And I'm like, Jesus, man, this is freaking, what is going on now? And then, it's all these stories, like you said, corruption, the mafia, racial
drive-by
tensions.
shootings. Because like they had a drive-by shooting in this book, like,
oh my god, yeah,
with the two kids going, I want to be like this gentleman, the crooked whoever, right?
The
and
runners.
Shot, then he's like, okay, I don't think I want to be like him anymore.
Man, yeah, man, I'm telling you, man, this book, it has so much, man, so freaking much.
Yeah. And what that mute kid and the girl in the wheelchair falling in love, like, it's just so much. There's so much in there,
and it's also it's crazy because when you talk about racial tensions, you immediately think black and white, but it's in this book it shows you that Irish people didn't get along with Germans or the Dutch, and the Dutch didn't get along with the French, and it was like a struggle. Like I need to up them some way. So he don't want us to live next to them because I'm Irish. I'm gonna buy the lot next to him, and it was like this constant battle. Which you read about it, you hear it, but not in this form. Like I've never read anything like this,
right?
And I was like, man, this is like eye opening, and I'm floored. Literally, I'm floored with this book.
There's a line I love in this. If Father O'Leary knew I was selling you a rubber, he'd have a fit. I read that and I was like, huh? Did I just read that?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! What about the page where the scene where the daughter gets caught in, like being caught as a prostitute?
Yeah.
And the mom and the dad died from just the news and the pain. And then the son comes in and the father is like, I don't know how to tell you this, but your father and your mother just passed.
Yeah.
And your sister was caught, she's a prostitute. I mean, and the guy is like, yeah, I kind of knew that was going to happen. I'm like, oh, Jesus. I'm like, what's going on here? It's just crazy. It's a crazy, crazy book, man. It's a freaking masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. It truly is. And there's images I'm showing you guys here, which can be a little bit sensitive because this is definitely not a kid's book.
Oh no.
And I mean, sometimes it is the storytelling that captivates you, but it's also the art as well. Like, especially with that drive-by shooting, was truly like insane,
Yeah,
really insane. Like,
so freaking gruesome. And you
yeah,
know, it looks real. It looks
yeah.
real. And again, the artwork is so he none of his pages are boring.
Right.
No,
He can be making a page. He can draw a page. You know, Red God rest his soul. He's not longer with us, but he could draw a page of just people talking, and it was like you were floored, like you were interested in everything that was happening, like the shadows, the perspectives, the
mask
line work. It was
movement.
just it's freaking it's and you can tell the mastery of Will Eisner that this is black and white, and you don't need it. You don't need.
No, you
He
don't
doesn't
need
need
color.
what he doesn't need color for this. It's just a freaking amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Um, like if anyone's listening or watching, and if they actually are interested in this book, you can actually get it, Manny. And speaking to you as well, I actually ordered a copy online of the Dropsy Avenue trilogy, which includes Contract with God, A Life Force, as well as Dropsy Avenue. So you can get it as a trilogy.
Where do you get that?
Well, I
Send
ordered
me
it locally, but you can order it through Amazon as well.
all three of them.
Yeah, but they're in one book, one hardcover.
Wow.
I need to get
Yeah,
that now.
yeah.
I need to get that now.
I've just ordered mine, so I haven't received it yet. But I just had to like. This is like a book, like you know, even if it is just in the cabinet, it'll look amazing in your cabinet.
Oh my god, man! It's yeah,
And hardcover too. I got a hardcover, so it's gonna look nice. You know,
yeah.
but yeah, if anyone's listening, looking for it, I will put a link in our description below. So definitely check it out if you are interested. Anyways, everything we mentioned in today's show will be in the comment section below. So definitely check it out. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, look, guys, just wrapping up the trilogy. Like, would you definitely buy this? I know Manny and I are kind of set. Rabbit, would you buy this
Oh
one?
yeah, yeah. Anything Eisner done, man, he's amazing. I mean, there's no doubt. Anything that he's done is worth buying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
it's been a real treat covering this. It's probably the highlight of my podcast career covering this Will Eisner trilogy, because besides The Shadow, it's like we've never really touched on anything like this from any other creator. Like,
Nah,
probably the only one that I'd be interested in would be the Barry Windsor Smith Monster, but this is something else. So we might cover that in some time in the future, but definitely this one has been a major treat covering the
Joe,
Will Eisner.
and Joe Kubert. We gotta look for Joe Kubert stuff.
Definitely. Yes, we definitely will. Thank you for the heads up, Manny.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to be moving on now to the Kickstarter project.
Yeah.
And thank you for choosing this one, Rabbit, because this looks amazing. Tell us about this book that you've picked up.
Well, actually, I gotta say that I'm a little biased. This is actually a one of my friends' best friends
Nice.
kind of book, and I love the art. You know, I've heard my friend's friend talk about it so much, and I've looked at the Kickstarter. You know, I don't exactly buy that many because I don't have the money, but I've been wanting to buy this one, and he just came out with this Kickstarter. He's been talking about it, and it looks great. You know, I'm not really that much into superheroes because you know I've got the few that I love already, so I don't really buy that many outside. But
Yeah.
you know, it's different. It's kind of out there. His colors that he puts into it, and you know the amount of pages that he sells for the money is just well worth the price.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. And this book is called Demon Hunter Raven by Nicholas Mueller. It's actually issues number 9 to 11. It comes in a 70-page graphic novel in a manga format, which is kind of cool. So it's supposed to be a little bit smaller than your traditional American floppy,
Yeah.
but 70 pages is pretty good, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Manny, what do you think of the art in Demon Hunter Raven?
I love the art, and I'm actually I'm friends with Nicholas on Facebook, and I think I follow him on Instagram as well.
Nice.
And I've been following everything he does. Yeah, he's very very talented. And like Paul said, the artwork is fantastic. But I mean, the character design of the main character is it looks freaking cool, man. It's cool, cool, cool. I really dig it. I really dig it.
Yeah, and just going to this here. So in Kickstarter, Nicholas has actually he's created 7 books via Kickstarter, but he's backed 131. Rabbit, in terms of backing other creators, how important do you think that is to the industry as a creator yourself?
I think it's very important, you know, being out there, creating comics and networking, but also, you know, showing the support to other people. It's just one of those things that really needs to be out there.
Yeah. Because it's one thing, right? You want people, you know, good for you to back books, but you want people to back you as well. So I think it's like a returning the favor, like an unwritten rule that, for example, someone backs your book and they know that they're coming out with a book, you kind of back it as well.
Yeah.
Even if it's like $3, $2 or $3, it still shows that support and camaraderie, because you know it's nice to support someone, but also get it in return.
Yeah. Even if it's $1, it shows your followers that you're backing this other person's book, and it helps him along.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the digital books as well, I did have it a second ago. Yeah, so digital book is $10 for a 70-page book.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's not too bad. It's but then if you pledge $15, you get a physical book.
Yeah.
I will get the 15.
I mean,
I will get that. I will get the physical one.
at that price with that art, how could you go wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
True.
And one thing I noticed in the actual comments in Kickstarter as well, which I thought was kind of nice, but in a way it kind of shows the struggles with creating comics. So it mentioned in here a failed webcomic and rejection letters from Image led to the creation of what you see now. Like that's something else, right? Rabbit, as a creator, like as someone who's used Kickstarter, what do you see when you read that message?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, you got to find motivation one way
Yeah.
or another. You know, if you do get the rejection, hey, it's just a stepping stone. It's one of those things that
Mhm.
that you go through a process. You got to keep knocking at doors. You got to keep pushing your. I mean, whenever you have a product that you believe in, and Nicholas
Mhm.
definitely believes in his product, and it's beautiful. So I mean, it's like why wouldn't you continue going?
Absolutely.
Nailed it on the head. Right
Yeah.
there. No, and it just shows, like, you know, resilience pays off. You like, if you're just going to quit after receiving a no, obviously you're going to find, you know, your motivation will decline. But if you're someone who believes in yourself and just keeps striving for greatness, it's eventually going to come your way. But I can't ignore, there's like a dude that looks like a lollipop stand or something. I don't know what you call it. Is that what I'm seeing? Like, like there's
It's
some
like a
characters in
fishbowl,
here.
head, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's supposed to like push it down. It's supposed to bubble. Like, I don't know. Is that how it works? I'm not sure how those things work.
It's
But
probably from like an toxic atmosphere or something like that.
yeah. And there's a guy called Clayman that looks pretty cool too. He's the dude with a smile on his face. I thought that's a kind of cool looking character as well.
Yeah.
But no, this looks fun, and it kind of has that sort of like all in brawl. Kind of has. Forgive me for saying about it. Kind of feels a little bit Fortnite-ish with some of the character designs. I don't know
Oh
if you
yeah.
feel
Yeah.
the same way. Yeah,
That's not a
Yeah.
knock.
That's not a bad thing. I mean, look,
I'm not even a
everyone
gamer,
loves
and
Fortnite.
I know. Yeah, I'm not even a gamer, and I know what Fortnite is. My kids are fucking obsessed with that thing.
exactly right. And that's the thing. It's like, yeah, but you kind of see it like there's like a hodgepodge of creative like designs, but
Right.
it's original, so it's kind of unique, and like no two characters look like they're on the same team because they're wearing completely different outfits. So
Right.
I think that's kind of cool. And look, I believe this looks like a really fun book, and there's a lot of energy put into it as well. And if you guys did, you guys watch the intro video on Kickstarter? It's hilarious.
Yeah, when they're actually doing the voices and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. That's cool.
And I love how like it was unedited as well. Like they're laughing in the background when the guy was talking, like what? And then the guy's laughing.
They're just a couple buddies, man. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly, and they're just just enjoying it. Like no need to apologize for imperfection. That's all I gotta say. Just like this show as well. So
yeah.
Nah, man. Look, guys, I think it's been there are some amazing titles that we covered today. But I just want to go across the board. Rabbit, what would be your biggest pick up in today's episode?
Well, obviously, yeah, at the point at the Will Eisner stuff, it's so beautiful and so inspiring. It's just one of those masterpieces that you can't. I mean, just can't get it out of your head after you read it. It's one of those things that you aspire to, and whenever you talk about Will Eisner, that's where it is.
Yeah.
And how about you, Manny? What would be your biggest pick up?
My biggest, like I agree with Paul with the whole Will Eisner. I mean, everybody should look and study Will Eisner. But my biggest takeaway was with this last book that we checked, and when we were talking about the rejection letters and stuff. For any creator out there that's struggling, that feels like I'm never gonna get my book done, I'm never gonna reach a level like Spawn or whatever. It's like Michael Jordan. He made a bunch of game-winning shots, but he missed 500 game-winning shots. Talking about Fallen created Spawn, but in order for him to create Spawn, he had hundreds of rejection letters from Marvel. You're not gonna get what you want in a day, in a month. I mean, it's gonna take hard work. That's why I mean, nobody has written anything good from a coward. So you have to just keep, trekking, just keep going. And it's a hard road. And indie comics, making comics is like I said earlier, it's a labor of love. It's not easy, man. But just don't give up. If you need help, reach out. There's a lot of people that are willing to help.
True, exactly. Because no one wants to see anyone fail, and you know what I mean. Like it's thing about comics is like we're not competitors or rivals. We're like just a community, you know. Like we've touched on other episodes. Whereas sometimes a fan or even a creator of a medieval comic may read another medieval comic because they like it. That's their genre. You're not going to go and try to beat them. They're just like like I like your work. Do you want to read some of mine? You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. Like let's make it like that. We don't need to compete. And for me, the biggest takeout was definitely the discussion earlier and the creative question. That was a lot of fun. But man, I can't overlook the Will Eisner trilogy. Like, man, like seriously, that's like some of the greatest. Like, A Life Force was probably the greatest comic I ever read. And the other two Will Eisner books are just as amazing. So it's challenging to get over that, honestly. And read anything else after that, but no, it truly is, and it's a labor of love. A lot, like the work that Will Eisner put in is his labor of love, and sharing it with all of us, and we're truly grateful for it. And also, too, guys, like if you want to leave comments and leave just check the comment section below. Leave a comment. Reach out to us at Think Indie Pod at Twitter. Because we'd love to, get, if you're interested in being interviewed, you can hook me up for Think Indie Extra. But on behalf of myself, Rabbit, and Manny, thank you so much for joining us for Think Indie Podcast. And don't forget to click like and subscribe, get more from Comic Crusaders. Until then, see you all next time.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.